people could be listening saying, what's involved in, if you've got an idea, getting an app off the ground? Can you talk me through that process?
I mean, it's changing so much now with AI. You've got these low-code platforms, which are great. Now you've got this thing called vibe coding. I don't know if you've heard of vibe coding. But these AI models are getting so good that, the idea of vibe coding is that you can, you're prompting it to say, hey, I want to build this app, and, it's spitting out code for you. And you still need to be somewhat technical. And I think we went down the path of a low-code platform. And what you realize is you kind of run into a wall pretty quickly. So they're great for a MVP or like an initial prototype to sort of, don't spend too much money in it. But, we were pretty serious, and we knew we wanted this thing to be pretty feature rich, and we had some technical challenges that these low code platforms just can't do. So we moved pretty quickly into a platform called Flutter, which is a cross-platform system which allows you to develop one code base, and that can launch into the Android App Store or the iOS App Store, but you're sort of managing the one code, if that makes sense.
Yeah. So are you the guy that's actually behind the scenes working on the tech?
Yeah, so I can code, and so I'll write a lot of the algorithms for kind of more the advanced stuff for how all the AI works and how we're doing our quick capture features and doing all that. But I then usually hand that code off to our engineer, and then I kind of just say, hey, this is how it's going to work. Let's make that happen in the app and do that side of things. So
okay, so you have an idea. You can code. You've got a tech side. So for you, it's sort of like just roll up the sleeves and get into it.
Yeah.
But you've got engineers, you've got experts you defer to and say, okay, we'll build this out.
Yep.
in a more thorough way, right?
Yeah.
But then what about like the creative side? Do you have to draw out the look of the app, the feel, those types of things? How do you do that?
Yeah. So I guess I'll backtrack to your original question: is how do you get started?
Yeah.
And I think the first thing you got to start with the design. That's what are you actually doing, obviously, and creating black and white wireframes on, okay, what screens am I going to have? Your home page, for us, the garage page, what's the trip interaction going to look like? And just building out a low fidelity, almost on a whiteboard if you want, and then move that into some sort of design studio. And then you go into a higher fidelity design where it's actually putting in, okay, what's this thing really going to look like?
So does this happen before coding?
Yep.
This is what I find interesting, because I've seen a few apps being developed, and when people show me their ideas, like I had a friend showing me yesterday something they're working on. It's like they're showing me basically these pictures and they're all lined up, and they're like, this is what it looks like on the phone, and it's like it looks like a creative, like an artistic project before it's a tech project.
Yeah,
I didn't know that about like building apps, right?
Yeah.
It's like you got to get the look right, because the way my mind works, like I think you'd build from the bottom. It's like you'd build like code, or you'd build like the technical side and then like just put the face on it. Doesn't necessarily work like that.
No, I mean, you have someone called a product designer where they're essentially, their job is to build out the look and feel and what the thing does.
Are these guys like graphic designers?
Yeah.
Essentially graphic designers, no tech skill really, or it's not necessary, right?
No, I mean, a lot of the UI, UX designers, product designers, they are pretty code savvy as well, because they're doing websites and whatnot, which involves code. But they usually, how it works is if you've got a product designer or a UI, UX designer, and they're the ones that are operating in like an Adobe or a Figma, and they're doing the designs.
Yeah.
And then that then gets translated to the engineer. And so he's essentially replicating that same design pixel by pixel in his code. So you have, on the code base, you have the front end, which is the replication of the design, and then you have the back end. So, in our example, our back end, is doing all the fetching for fuel data. It's storing all the trips, it's bringing up your vehicle servicing information. That's a database that is our back end. So that then feeds into the front end.
If you wanted to get an app off the ground, like you said, MVP, and you had a low budget, what's the minimum sort of amount of money you need to get together to get an app? Say you've designed it out, and to get it built with engineers, what's the minimum you're going to need to get it off the ground?
I would say around, I mean, again, it's changing so much, right? But if you had asked me that question probably a year ago, I would have said maybe $10,000 to get something that's actually working. You can maybe put into the App Store. But if you're doing it through a low code platform, like way less than that, even maybe a couple of grand if you work with, a single developer overseas, and he can sort of whip something up in a low code platform for you.
Yeah. So less than 10 grand.
Yeah.
Well, that's not a lot of money considering like what you're actually doing. If you think about it, like 10 grand is achievable. So
I'm sure someone's probably listening to me right now going, oh, 10 grand, like you could do it for $500. I'm sure you probably can.
And some people are saying, oh, you probably can't get anything done that's any good for less than 50.
Exactly. Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? So like it's really how detailed do you want to build it, how good it's going to be, how functional, how many bugs it's going to have. I mean,
you're going to run into trouble if you build something, you release it, and it goes gangbusters. And, we've heard stories about this where, people launch these products and overnight they're huge successes. And they end up with this massive database fee because they've had so much traffic hitting their back-end database. And, you'll build for that traffic, that compute time.
Yeah.
And so you've, wind up with a $70,000 database bill from AWS or Vercel or someone like those guys. So, yeah.